Yeah, welcome to our world. On the front page of the newspapers, a lot talking about Guantanamo Bay. I want to show you, before we go read some of the op-eds about Obama keeping America safe. I won't. Let's look at these polls.
Oh, okay. Yeah, good idea.
I think one of them misstated, but should the United States close Guantanamo Bay? It's split 50-50. 51 yes, 47 no, within the margin of error. Another one from ABC News. Now, this is an unrelated but an unfortunate question, the way it was used. You need to talk to your friends at the Washington Post. Use of torture in terrorism investigations. Oppose torture, 58%, and I am in that 58%. I oppose torture. 40% there are cases to consider torture. And the nuance of that, Mika, and I don't want to get too much into this before we read the op-eds. Right now, torture has been being defined either down or up, whichever way you want to put it. It used to be, you know, you club somebody, you give them permanent damage psychologically or physically. Right. That was torture. Now, waterboarding is torture, and that is a long, fascinating debate because because instead of dunking somebody's head under and maybe cutting off oxygen supply, you're giving the illusion of drowning somebody. So we could have that debate, but now they're talking about sleep deprivation as torture. They're talking about, I say they, newspapers are starting to try to define it this way. They're also talking about moving the thermostat up or down as torture. Soon it's going to be draining iPod batteries will soon be torture too. But this actually does a disservice. Hey, over here, Jonathan, okay? You're torturing me, okay? I'm going to have you thrown in jail.
That's against the law.
Passing notes.
But this actually does a disservice for Barack Obama now that he's our commander-in-chief, because it puts him in a little box saying we're going to call things that we do to our own men and women in the military in training exercises torture.
I think it's a very complicated line to draw as to what exactly defines torture. I think we need the definition, though, so we don't have the problems that we confronted in the past and the debates that we have on this set, which get downright ugly.
I think if you want, there are some clear delineations. Like if they, for instance, put the detainees in front of a TV set and make them watch outtakes of the Jesse Ventura show, torture.
Obama and Guantanamo. I'm going to just skip the first line. Anyone who can't be indicted, this is how complicated closing Gitmo is. Anyone who can't be indicted should be set free, but such trials are unworkable, even for the 70 or 80 detainees that prosecutors had planned to try with military commissions, let alone prisoners who are too dangerous to release, but for which there isn't sufficient evidence for a tribunal, much less civilian courts. Critics like to point to aggressive interrogations as somehow tainting these cases, but the real problems are far more prosaic. For instance, any evidence probably can't be admitted in civilian courts because terrorists aren't read their Miranda rights when picked up in combat zones. So on wiretaps, interrogations, and now Gitmo, the new administration is discovering that the left-wing attack lines against Bush policies are mostly simplistic illusions. Now those critics are Mr. Obama's problem.
Yeah, and John,
where do you begin?
Isn't that a great point, Jonathan? The far left, the extreme left, that's used the lines, you know, about NSA wiretapping or you know, suggesting that we extend rights that only our citizens get to people that we pick up on a battlefield, are going to be putting Barack Obama in a terrible corner, aren't they?
Well, look, we have an editorial in our paper today where we agree with President Obama and his decision to call, I think it's a 60-day or 120-day hold, freeze on the cases at Guantanamo Bay, so they can get in there and really look around and see what they're going to do with these folks as part of the process of closing down Guantanamo.
Pat, that's wise and prudent, isn't it, to say, let's put a freeze on them.
Right, let's put a freeze on it and let's look.
He started the clock running when he committed himself to shut it down, and I think he's got to carry that through, but now he's going to have to figure out what he's going to do with the problem he's created for himself.
No good answer.
Right. No good answer.
I don't know of a good answer.
But you know, one thought here, but maybe it's too late, but you got the Geneva Convention for prisoners of war who are fighting honorably. You have our own case. Maybe you need new laws, Joe, to deal with terrorists who use atrocities as a means of warfare, and maybe simple membership in Al-Qaeda can be made a crime punishable by 10 years in prison. Frankly, after World War II, they said after the fact that membership, the SS, was a criminal organization.
And Mika, herein lies the problems, the complexities of it all. People are trying to apply Geneva Convention standards to terrorists that don't fit that definition, just like they're trying to apply habeas corpus rights to enemy combatants that don't.
You can't call them that. Right?
You can't get every German POW and say you guys got a right to appear in court.
But
it's just what the Wall Street Journal was saying in there. You don't stop the guys and read them the Miranda rights. Now let's talk about practicability. What's been happening over the past 2 or 3 years, and this sounds terrible, but it's been happening, and I've heard it from several sources. You know, there are soldiers and Marines who are being told you got 2 choices. You can scoop up a guy, you know, get him, interrogate him, and be called a torturer, or you can kick down the door, shoot him, kill him, and be a hero. Your choice.
So well, why torture? Why it has to be torture? Can't you?
Well, what's torture? How do you define
well, you know
torture?
what? And that is also part of the problem. The definition of torture, the legal.
Torture?
Well, I think waterboarding is torture because it's been considered torture since what, the 12th century. I consider sleep deprivation and having people stand naked in, you know, severe temperatures and things like that. I mean, wouldn't you consider that torture?
No, not sleep deprivation.
not after the last 5 days.
No, listen, seriously, we have to talk about 2 different things. And I think, and I don't want to get too deep in this because the next op-ed is extraordinarily important. But there are 2 different cases that happened, and the media has done a terrible job blurring them together. There's Gitmo, where you have a series of professionals who have studied what's been going on for 2,000, 3,000 years, who know how far you can push somebody before causing severe mental distress or before causing physical harm. They have an extraordinarily rigid set of guidelines monitored. They know exactly what they're doing. They know how far they can push before they pull back. These people loathe what happened, the people that did what they did at Abu Ghraib, where you had National Guardsmen from, I think, Pennsylvania, were given no training and then walked people around in dog collars and took pictures. It horrified them because there was an extreme lack of discipline. A lot of fools in the military and on the extreme left and on the extreme right think that these guys and women that are interrogating the most dangerous Al-Qaeda people in the world are savages. They're not. They are professionals. They are trained. They've been doing it. The ones at the top have been doing it for a quarter century.
So aren't those professionals?